Hello, yogis. In this sequence, we are going to address the lateral fascia train of the body. So it's the big outer edge of you on each side. So there's some really large parts of that lateral fascia train where the fascia is really thick, and that's called your IT band. So we're going to spend some time getting into that area of the body, but we're also going to work in through the side body. And your lateral fascia trains, both left and right, do have very important function in the body. They are considered stabilizers. So your front fascia train is all about movement and endurance, and your back fascia train is kind of works like a brake, and then your sides stabilize the front and the back because the front and the back body are in a reciprocal relationship with each other. But these side lines, so from literally starting right through the side of the neck, right down through the whole side body, through the whole outer seam of your leg, down into the baby toe side of your foot, those work as keeping the whole body stable. So you also have what we call our hip stabilizers. They're on the outer thigh in that lateral seam, and we'll be getting good stretch into those outer hip stabilizers in this sequence. So you are going to need a bolster or a substitute with a big rolled up blanket or a cushion for a lot of the lateral flexion that we're going to do. And to start, we're going to be seated, so bring in either a sick cushion or a blanket. Other than that, you shouldn't need too much. You might need a block here or there when we get to a little bit later in the practice. So let's bring our sit bones right to the very front of our sick cushion or our blanket. Set up our pelvis nicely here, just allowing a little bit of an anterior tilt. That's going to allow us to sit tall in that spine without slumping. Hips slightly higher than knees. Remember to take a different seat if this one, easy sit, does not work for you. So thinking growing tall, like I pulled a string up through the crown of your head, relaxing the shoulders away from the ears and bringing your hands behind your knees, wherever your knees happen to be. You can either close your eyes here or soften your gaze into the lap. So as always, we're going to take a body scan and we're going to check in from head down to toe and just notice where we're holding on to physical tension in the body. Checking in with some of those specific zones that adults like to store stress in. So unclench your back teeth. Lower jaw just relaxes away from upper jaw. Tongue relaxes into the lower palate. And then check in with that space between the eyebrows. So unfurrowing here. Eyebrows moving away from each other, more towards the ears. Tops of shoulders. So that's a big one that we probably need to correct over and over again. Tops of shoulders away from ears. Also thinking about softening through the belly and softening in and around your hip creases. So as always, we're giving our body permission to release and let go so that we can become that very passive version of ourselves that we need to be in a yin practice. So one more scan through, this time just bringing into your awareness areas of the body where you need to be more careful. So again, we all have different issues in our tissues that can change from day to day, hour to hour in some cases. So just note where you probably need to be more careful with your body. And remember, it's always talking to us. We just need to be listening. So being in denial of the body yelling at you is not going to get you very far. So there's that famous quote, listen to your body's whispers so you don't have to hear its screams. It's very true. All right, let's bring our awareness into the breath because the breath is what helps to keep us safe. So just starting that really simple practice of awareness into nostrils, breathing just through the nose and watching airflow in and out. And not needing to correct or manipulate the breath here, just allowing it to smooth itself out and slow itself down. And when you become aware that the belly is moving with the breath, drop your awareness from the nose into the belly. Sometimes it helps to put a hand over the navel center. Feel that belly push out into the hand as the diaphragm drops down behind abdominal organs. And then feel the belly move back towards the spine as diaphragm moves up towards heart and lungs. So diaphragmatic breath is where it's at. When you're breathing with your diaphragm, every other system in your body is happy and things get to work together for their greater good. So that goes for everything. Every system you can think of, your lymphatics, your immune system, your circulatory system, your digestive system, you name it, all works better when we're breathing better. So I think one of the greatest gifts yoga gives people, besides from helping them to feel better in their bodies, is actually to really connect with the breath and to recognize when they're not breathing well. Because all it takes is that conscious awareness and redirecting your awareness back to the breath, and your body instantly will move into a better breath. So just remember today, if you can't exhale into something, you should not be there. You need to dial it back. So let's blink open the eyes now. Take the hands back behind us for a moment. We'll just release whatever seat we took. Shake it out. Pop down to those ankles. Just give them a little bit of movement through the ankle joint. Circling and pointing and flexing. So we're going to continue in a seat. So a comfortable seat, whatever that is for you. And we're going to start into the very top of the fascia train, or the lateral fascia train in the neck. So we're just going to take back of the right hand, bring it behind the back, somewhere on that sacrum, and then tip left ear to left shoulder. So we're immediately targeting the right lateral fascia train through the side of the neck. So as always, time is a magic ingredient. So your typical yoga class will only hold for about 5 breaths. In yin, we like to do it at least a minute, more often 2. And if you really have the time, of course, you can be 5, 10 minutes. Now, not so much in the neck, but into some of those more ligament dense areas of the body, like the hips and the back, of course, yes, longer, better. So we're just thinking about melting that right shoulder away from the right ear. Work with your breath. Think of inhaling, send your breath out into the neck. Make some space there. You might even feel one of those scalenes move, expand, because it's connected to your rib cage. And then on the exhale, soften and surrender. So in actual fact, you do breathe with muscles in your neck. And do a few more breaths here. Okay, let's release that right hand back into the lap. Very slowly bring your head back to center. So often when we come out of a yin pose, that's when we really start to feel sensations arising in the body. So pausing between sides, we're not in a hurry. We're just going to take the back of the left hand, bring it back behind you, wherever it's comfortable, and then tipping right ear to right shoulder. So targeting into the left lateral fascia train. So some of the areas we'll work in tonight to the body are somewhat ignored, even in yoga, in a typical yoga class. They're not always everybody's favorite things to work. And that's kind of a shame because they're quite vital areas of the body, especially if we think about from an energetic perspective. Of course, in yin yoga, we talk about meridians, energetic channels. That's where your acupressure points are. And the side body has some really big energetic channels. It has the liver, gallbladder, spleen lines. Those are all really important energetic channels, especially for helping move things out of the body that don't need to be there anymore. So for detoxifying. Few more breaths here. Breathing on the inhale, send that breath out to the left side. Exhale, continue to soften that left shoulder away from left ear. And we'll bring that left hand back into lap, nice and slow, head back to center. Pausing here, just being aware. How do things feel? All right, let's release whatever seat we took. Take a little shake out. We'll drop back down into those ankles because they are very connected to your neck. And do some pointing and flexing. Okay, so we're going to move immediately now down this lateral seam on each side and come into a posture called straddle or dragonfly. So we're going to walk our legs away from our midline. So remember in yin, we want to keep everything soft. So feet soft, no toes pointing up to the sky, no engagement of the quads. And you just move your legs far enough away that you get somewhat of a sensation of reaching an edge through your inner leg line. Bring your bolster now and hug it, or your pillow, whatever you're using, right into your left side waist. So we're going to combine straddle with some lateral flexion. And there's a couple of different ways you can do this. So this might be where you want to have a block handy. So just have it somewhere you can reach in. So lateral flexion is side bending. So if you hug that bolster or cushion right in, and now side bend to your left. Now, sometimes I like to take a block on its highest setting and put my elbow on it and then support my head. So remember, laterally flexing to the left side of your mat. Now this right arm you could bring up and over. And if that doesn't feel good in your shoulder, or you get pins and needles, obviously that's not the place for you. But you could bring your right hand back behind your sacrum again, or you could just rest your hand in your lap, wherever it's comfortable. So let's just think about what's happening in the body. So we're back into this right lateral seam, back into the neck. and then opening through the side body. So when we work with fascia, we work with stresses. There are 3 stresses: compressive, tensile, and shearing. Through this right side, we're bringing in a tensile stress. Whether your arm is up or not, doesn't matter. It's tensile stress. And then through the left side, we're actually bringing in a compressive stress. Both stresses are good for our tissues, i.e. fascial network. So let's, while we're here, really think about breathing into those side ribs and side waist. These are parts of the body that we don't get into that often, and energetically, we're often very stuck energy here. So let's take this opportunity to breathe into those sides. And remember, try to relax everything else that does not need to be a part of this. All right, last few breaths here. Now, if you have the right arm up and past the crown of the head, slowly bring it back. And then release the left hand if it's holding up your head. And we're just slowly going to come back to center. Pausing between sides. So just noticing any sensations in the body that arise after the release. All right, let's take the bolster or cushion now, whatever you're using, into your right side waist. Maybe you want to use your block again to help support you up. Lateral flexion to the right side of your mat, supporting your head. And then, if you choose to bring the left arm up and over, or take the left hand back behind your sacrum, or leave the left hand in your lap. All that matters here is we're getting back into that left side body. So back into the left side of the neck, all the way through the left side body with tensile stress again. This time now, compressive stress, compression on the right side body. Let's breathe into those left ribs. So really feel those rib cage expand. Ribs expanding on the inhale, contracting back in towards spine on exhale. Making some space on those inhales and softening and surrendering on the exhales. Now your lower back muscles, your QLs, quadratus lumborum, they love side bending. And they attach right into the very top of your pelvis there, into the ilia. And maybe you can feel just how much connection there is there. Often this is a very tight area when you side bend, right in the very top of that iliac crest. All those muscles hook right in there. All right, if you took the left hand up and over, slowly bring it back. Release the right hand from the head, and nice and slow. Back to center, and just notice what you're feeling. So I already feel better in my side body, so hopefully you would too. All right, we're going to move further down the train, but first take your hands back behind your hips, one leg back to center, then the other. Little shake out. And let's come back into those ankles with some movements. Point and flex. Okay. So we're going to move further down the seam and get into our hip stabilizers. And we'll also be moving into the IT band. But I want to show you the modification for the next pose first, because not everybody can do swan from an upright position. So if you are not able to put a lot of weight over your knees, your swan is going to look like this, with the right ankle onto left thigh, neutral pelvis, maximum external rotation. You could stay here, or you could interlace your hands or use a strap behind the left thigh, tucking your chin and not bringing tension into your shoulders, not lifting your chin up to the sky. Okay, that's going to get right into your outer hip and your stabilizers. Or if your knees are okay with bringing your upper body weight, a couple of things you might want to take with you is a thick cushion. It can be good for padding up your back knee, or a blanket. And we're just going to come to a tabletop position. Now, from here, if you have a bolster or a cushion that you can use, you can bring it in. A lot of people really like that, but you can also do it without. So whether you're using that bolster or not, we're going to walk our right knee forward. Right foot stays in the center of the mat and the left leg extends back behind us. So this might be where you want to pad up under the left knee if your knees are a little delicate and need some extra padding. Hands are either side of the prop or just towards the edges of your mat if you're not using a prop. So from here, our pelvis is perfectly neutral, and we want to keep it that way. But we're going to increase the external rotation into that right hip. So we're going to heel toe, that right foot over towards the left side of your mat. Now, if your knee starts to complain, walk the foot more back to the center of the mat. And if it's still complaining, you need to go on your back and do the modification. Once you have the knee happy and maximum external rotation in that right hip, if you're using the prop, you'll pull back your cushion or your bolster and lower your ribs down, arms either side of your prop and right ear turned down. If you don't have bolsters or cushions available, you can just come down onto your forearms. You could make little stacked fists and bring your forehead down. So you don't have to use a prop, but most people have some sort of a cushion around or a big pillow that they can use. All right, so this is swan pose, and it's all about getting into that outer hip area where your hip stabilizers are. So coming back to your breath, making sure your breath is flowing. And remember at any time, if you need to come out early, please do so. And just come back out to a comfortable place and sit with your breath. Let's do 30 more seconds here. Okay, now if you're on your back, I'd like you to make yourself up to seated because we're going to transition to a pose that comes from our sit bones. If you're with me in a regular swan, you're going to bring your forehead back to center. Start to walk your hands back and lift up through that upper body. And then roll onto your right glute. You can just take your bolster off to the side. So I'm going to move because I have to demo, but you don't have to go anywhere. You're going to keep that right knee slightly bent and in the center of the top of your mat. And then you're going to lean over to the right and bring the left leg up and over. So we're going to go into shoelace. So shoelace can be a challenging pose for some. Intention is to stack your knees as best you can. If your hips are not made for this pose, you're not going to stack your knees. I can't stack my knees. It doesn't matter because I'm still targeting this time the outer hip on the left thigh. If you really can't sit here in this full shoelace, a half is available and just as good. Right leg straight, left leg tucked back. You're still going to target those left abductors, which are part of your hip stabilization group. So you could sit nice and tall here, holding onto your feet or just tucking the chin. Or if you want to intensify what's happening through this outer hip and this lateral seam, you would take a little hinge and hug knee or knees. So that intensifies things a bit. And you'll feel it not just through the outer hip, but up through the glute and even into lower back. So remember, in yin, you get to decide where you want to feel these sensations. You determine how much intensity you want. And also your body will determine whether something is going to actually have a lot of sensation to it or not. So in a general manner of speaking, the more sensation you experience, the more that fascia probably needs some work. So sometimes people go into a pose and they're like, I don't feel anything. Well, you just keep trying all the different variations, and if you get to the end of the road and you still don't feel anything, I guess you're okay in that part of your body. It's not a bad thing. It's something to celebrate. Not everything has to be a struggle. So stay with your breath here in your shoelace. And try to think about those areas of the body that we're working as we go down that lateral train. Last few breaths here. If you took the hinged fold, slowly return back to sitting upright. Let's untie the shoelace, legs in front, hands back behind your hips, little shake out. Back into those ankles and point and flex. All right, we're going to do our swan on the other side. So if you're taking the modification, it is left ankle onto right this time, neutral pelvis, maximum external rotation, either staying here or coming into clasping hands around the back of the right thigh or use a strap. If you're coming with me, we are going to come onto all fours. Maybe have something to pad up your back knee. Maybe using bolster or cushion in front. From our tabletop, we're just going to walk that left knee forward. Keep the left foot in the center of the mat and then extend the right leg back. So remember here with our hands more towards the edges of our mat, we have a nice neutral pelvis here. We're supporting ourselves. And then we're going to start to externally rotate that left hip. Heel toe, left foot over to the right side, keeping pelvis neutral, not tipping one way. Making sure your knee's happy, or walk the foot back, or go on your back. And then pull your prop in so ribs can be supported. Arms either side of your prop, and this time left ear turns down. In our what's called sleeping swan, if you're in this position. Coming back into your breath. And just remember, as we marinate in these poses, we want to find stillness, both in the body and, if we can, in the mind. So letting your mind anchor to the breath is one way to give it something to do so it doesn't become distracted. Could anchor in onto the sound of the breath. Last few breaths here. So again, if you're in the reclined swan, please make your way back up to seated. If you're with me, bringing forehead back to center, walking hands closer back towards your body so you can push into your palms, grow tall, and roll onto your left glutes. And just taking your props off to the side, bringing that bent left knee into the center of the top of your mat. And then leaning over to the left so you can bring right leg up and over. So shoelace other side. Could be more challenging on this side, maybe less. So there again, my knees don't stack. But what's important is if we can at least find grounding through the sit bones, it doesn't matter. Now, if that's too much for you, left leg straight, right leg tucked back. So options again, you could sit nice and tall and just tuck your chin. We're targeting that right outer hip again, okay? But if you want to intensify it, hinge forward, hug knee or knees. Anchor back onto that breath. Last few breaths here in our shoelace. So if you took the little fold, bring yourself back upright. Let's untie the shoelace. Hands back behind our hips. Shake it out. All right. Back into your ankles. So we're going to continue with Banana Asana. So Banana Asana is one of the most excellent yin poses to get into our lateral fascia train. So you're just going to come onto your back, but lined up along the right edge of your mat. Legs fully extended. Now you have option to take the arms up past the crown of the head. Now, some people can't take their arms fully back to the earth. You could block up behind you and let your arms just come to rest on a prop. Or if you get pins and needles here, sometimes you just have to emit the arms completely because we don't want you to hang out in pins and needles. That's cutting off blood supply and compressing nerves. So you could do back the hands to the forehead or keep the hands on the belly. Doesn't really matter. The arms are just an add-on. All right, so we're going to start the banana by walking the legs over to the left, keeping the legs perfectly straight and keeping the sacrum fully grounded. So no tipping up and lifting the right hip up. And then we side bend to the left side of our mat, and we're going to turn our left ear down to left shoulder. Now at this point, you might want to walk your legs wider or lessen the banana. So you adjust as you see fit. Some of you might be able to cross your right ankle over the left. Remember, sacrum is grounded, shoulder blades are grounded. There should be no tipping over towards the left side of the body. So we're targeting that big right fascia train from the armpit all the way down to the baby toe side of the foot. So we start with bringing our breath and our awareness back into the right side ribs. Inhale, making space as the rib cage expands. Exhale, softening and surrendering as the rib cage contracts back to the spine. So keep with that breath. Keep your awareness in that expansion and contraction. Now let's shift the awareness further down that lateral seam into the right side waist. Same thing here. Inhale, find space. Exhale, soften and surrender. Very top of one of those inhales, you might feel that big muscular attachment point at the very top of your pelvis, right on that iliac crest. And let's shift a little further down the train, so just through that outer hip area, and then right down the outside of the thigh, down to the knee. So there's where that big IT band resides in the body, big leather-like strap of fascia. So the fascia in your body is really thick in three major locations. soles of the feet, crown of the head, and IT band. And just remember, if you feel like some of your edge through that side body has dissipated, you can increase that banana shape at any time. Or likewise, decrease it if you've gone too far. I'm not sure if you can hear that, but my cat, the Maine Coon, is crying. Not sure why. She has a very high-pitched meow, so it sounds kind of like a baby crying. And then lastly, we're going to shift the awareness and the breath down that very last outer edge. So through the lower leg from the knee down to baby toe side of the foot. Okay, one last few breaths here from the entire right seam, armpit down to baby toe side of the foot. See if you can inhale, bring space and awareness right into that right lateral train, and exhale, soften and surrender. All right, if the ankles are crossed, uncross them and slowly walk the legs back to that right side of your mat. And then bring your upper body into alignment with lower body. We'll hug our knees into the chest, taking them a little bit wide, and then just circle through the sacrum and circle the knees and just in one direction. Come back to center and stillness, release your knees, and slide over to the left side of your mat. Extend the legs. Maybe take the arms up and past the crown of the head, either blocking up if you need it, or arms to the floor, or backs and hands to the forehead, or hands can stay on the belly. Let's walk the legs over to the right side of the mat, starting that banana. And then side bend upper body to the right side, turning right ear down to right shoulder. So adjusting or decreasing that banana, either increasing or decreasing, I should say, adjust as you need. And then left ankle crossing over the right, perhaps. And breath and awareness back into opposite armpit, left side. And then shifting breath and awareness down into side ribs. And then down through the side waist. And then down through the outer hip and the IT band. And lastly, from the knee down to baby toe side of the foot through that outer seam. Okay. Our last few breaths will be the entire left lateral seam from armpit down to baby toe side of foot. Inhaling into that entire left side body, making space. Exhale, releasing tension. Uncrossing any ankles and walking the legs back to the left side of our mat. Bringing upper body back into alignment with lower body. Hugging knees in, but keeping them a little bit wide. And circle the opposite direction to last time. And back to center and stillness, and release your knees. Come into the center of your mat. So we're going to finish our practice with a twist like we usually do, but we are going to take a one knee supine twist and really target just again from the hip down to that baby toe side of the foot. So you might need a block, so have one handy. And you're going to take your left leg long, and you're going to bring your right leg into a 90-degree angle. So knees stacked above the hip. You're going to take your right arm out chest height and ground through your right shoulder blade. And then left hand on the outside of the right knee. And we're going to twist over to the left side of our mat without taking the right shoulder blade away from the sky. So here's our typical one knee supine twist. Now I'm going to suggest you take a block and you bring it in whatever height you need. So some of you might need it higher and others lower. And then you're going to extend your leg through that lower half. So it's like you're kicking a soccer ball, taking the leg straight, and blocking it up with your block. So we're targeting that big outer hip area, IT band, all the way down the outside of that right leg. Option to turn your head to the right. So when that block is supporting you, you can really let go any muscle involvement in that right leg. So that helps us bypass muscle and get into the fascia itself. Last few breaths here. All right, bend back through the left knee and unwind yourself. Just extend that right leg down your mat. Just take a moment here between sides to see what sort of sensations arise. And then keeping the right leg long this time, we will bend through the left leg, have the left knee above the hip, left arm out is our anchor, ground through your shoulder blade, right hand on outside of left knee, twist over to your right. So again, find your block, lock up under that left knee, and then like you're kicking a soccer ball, extend that left leg out. Make sure it's supported so you can relax, and then option to turn your head to the left. So see what you feel from the top of the hip all the way down the outside edge of that leg. Last few breaths here on this side. Bend back through that left leg. Unwind yourself. Come right onto your back. Both legs long. And just notice any sensations that arise from the release. So there we've done it. We've got through that entire left and right fascia train, lateral trains of the body. Really important. So it's Shavasana time, so you can stay here with your legs extended, or if you need to bend back through your knees and plant your feet, or maybe do constructive rest legs with knees touching, feet wide. Just find the shape that works for you. Shoulder blades release to earth, backs and hands grounded, palms turned up, fingers gently curled. Maybe eyes closed. Let's come back into that breath. Noticing that belly rising and falling again, and just noticing how easy it is to drop back into breath awareness here at the end of the practice. Let's take 3 cleansing breaths here just to signal the end of the practice. Inhale, nose. Exhale out with a sigh. Inhale, nose. Exhale, release. Last inhale. Exhale, empty those lungs. Closing the mouth, unclenching the back teeth, releasing the tongue into lower palate. Slight tuck of the chin. Swallow once or twice and soften into your throat center. Relax the muscles through your face, through the cheeks, the temples. Smooth out the worry lines on the forehead. Tops of shoulders melting away from ears. Shoulder blades grounded into the earth. Sacrum melting into your mat. Arms heavy. Legs heavy. Whole back body supported now by the earth, and you can completely let go. Just your awareness shifting now into that space between your eyebrows. Just welcoming in the darkness and the quiet within, the stillness. And try to keep your awareness in those spaces between the thoughts. And stay here for as long as you require.